Yeah, I really appreciate it. It's an honor to get up here in front of you guys and just share some of the things that we do at Stony Brook, some of the things that I believe in. Most everything that I've developed and with my philosophies over since I've started coaching, I've got from other people, and so I'm always willing to share what we're doing, what I believe in, and I'm always continuing to try to grow. I'm hopefully I get something out of this tonight, just from some of the questions you guys ask, and maybe I learned something from you guys. So like Coach said, what I'm going to talk about is receiver fundamental progression. It's one thing here at Stony Brook. This was my first year here at Stony Brook this past season. Before that, I was at Rice for 3 seasons as the assistant receiver coach. And just being here this year at Rice, at Stony Brook, it's really helped me. I feel like Coach Priori, he's really big on fundamentals, and I feel like it's helped take my game to another level as far as just being able to coach receivers and develop relationships with those guys and just player development. That's one thing that we really try to take pride in here is just the way we develop our guys and fundamentally make sure that they are very sound. So when they take the field, they're able to be as successful as possible. So at any point in time, as I'm going through this, it's going to be kind of a combination, of technique, some drill film, some game cut-ups of, the technique or the skill executed in the actual in a game clip. But at any point in time, if you guys have any questions, you can stop me at any time and ask away. So I'm excited to get started. And like I said, I appreciate all you guys allowing me to be here and share some of the things that I believe in with you guys. So like you said, I'm Caleb Haynes. There's my cell phone number and email, at the bottom of the screen. If any of you guys, want the PowerPoint or any of the film at the end of this, just shoot me over an email or shoot me over a text, or you got me on Twitter, hit me up on Twitter, and I'm definitely, willing to share and do that stuff. I've, a lot of coaches have shared stuff with me, so I definitely always try to do that as well. So first thing I want to talk about before we get to, some of the actual skill work and drills and all that, is just some of the goals that I have for the receiver room. So the biggest thing is, I want to be a mentor and give back and help make the guys better people, first and foremost. I think that goes a long way. Kind of going along with that, I think building relationships is very important. Player to player, player to coach, just providing that atmosphere within the receiver room so that you have a culture that guys know that, it's not just about football. I'm trying to develop a relationship outside of football so that they know that I truly care about them as a person. I think that goes a long ways. I want them to get to know me as well. So, sometimes in the meeting room, I'm going to share some of my experiences that I get to know guys. I want them to know about me more than just a football coach, more than just showing up at the office or practice, and then I want to know more about them, what they like to do in their spare time outside of football. So I think that that's crucial. One thing I feel like we did a great job with, as a whole program, this winter before all this happened is instead of going so much in the wintertime and with install and all that, we did that. But, half the time that we were in our meetings and stuff, it was all tailored to just developing relationships, sharing stories, things that were going to help build character and help us, continue to get closer to each other. Like I talked about, the next thing I really believe in is doing a great job fundamentally developing, the group as individually and then as a whole. It's one thing, like I said, I think Coach Priori, he's helped take my game to another level as far as, just the fine details. Not that I didn't pay attention to them in the past, but not to the level that I do now. So I definitely credit, a lot of things that I'm doing, towards him, and then a lot of other things that I've learned from a lot of other coaches. And then at the end of that, hopefully if I do a great job developing relationships with the guys, helping develop them as players, hopefully we'll be one of the better, receiver groups in the conference. I think things will just take care of themselves as far as that goes. So some of the things that I want us to really be known for. So when opposing coaches turn on the film, when I turn on the film, when we grade that stuff, the first thing as a receiver group, we got to create explosive plays. Nowadays in football, it's hard to sustain, 15, 20 play drives. It's all about creating explosive plays. And from the receiver standpoint, we have to be able to do that, whether that's catching a bubble screen, a quick out, or if that's, running a post or a go route down the field and us going up and making a play. We have to create explosive plays. That's the standard. Number two thing is win one-on-one battles. So when it is 3rd and 10, when it is second and 8, and it's press man coverage across the board, and we're running a curl route or a hook route or a dig, we got to be able to win that one-on-one matchup, to keep the chains moving. The next thing is playing with a physical mindset. From a receiver standpoint, I think besides, obviously the blocking component is very huge. We want to be physical and nasty when we're blocking, we want to make sure that we're doing a great job, staying attached to guys on the perimeter, keeping our feet moving. And then also, what I talk to our guys all the time about, as far as that goes is, with releases, not get rerouting the sideline. If I'm releasing inside, getting straight back vertical, not getting condensed too far inside. So I think that's important. I want us to play a physical brand of football. And last but definitely not least, I preach this to the guys all the time. The best ability is reliability. So if you're a guy that I can trust play in and play out, number one, to execute your assignment and do it at a high level, you're probably going to – and you can create explosive plays and do these other things, you're probably going to be an every down player for us. If you're a guy that can do those first three, but you're not always reliable with your assignment or things along that nature, then, yeah, we might have a package for you. You might be a spell guy, but you're probably not going to be an every down player until I can gain full trust in you and that you're a reliable play in and play out. So I think those things are very important, and that's what, like I said, what I want us to be known for. In the meeting room, I think this is huge of, how you set your culture and how you develop your guys. I think building relationships, is huge in the meeting room. So like I talked about, I always try to start off my meetings not getting right into the film or install and that stuff. I like to share, an experience or, a fun fact maybe that they don't know about me, or maybe just something funny, to try to grab everybody's attention. And so we're not just getting strictly to business. And then other times I might ask a guy, get up and what's your favorite, whatever, or what's, your life story. We've done that before. Sometimes it's more on a serious note, and sometimes it's a lighter note. But I always try to take the first, 3 to 5 minutes for us to be able to kind of create that bond. I think that's very important. Some other things I've done in the past that, just when things started getting stale in camp, when we're meeting all the time and things like that, is, heck, throw on a guy's high school highlight film. That usually gets those guys engaged. And it's crazy that, if you do something like that at the beginning of the meeting and they really enjoy it, how much locked in they are as the meeting goes compared to if you don't do something and you dive straight into it. So I think that's good. I'm big on holding everybody accountable and coaching the little things. So even if a guy has success at the end of the play, the result is a win, there might still be some things we can coach up off of that. If he caught a touchdown pass, but the release wasn't great, I'm going to say, great job. That was excellent, what you did right there. But this is how maybe it could have even been better. I think that's very important, and you coaching everybody the same and holding everybody accountable. I think interactive coaching is huge. So it's not just me, at the front of the meeting room talking the whole time. I'm asking guys questions, why did you do this here? Or what do you think about this release? What do you think about that release? I might ask another player. I might ask Johnny what he thinks about, Joe's release right here, or his route right here. I think that's very important. Hearing the feedback that those guys give you back kind of a lot of times lets you know if your coaching points are really hitting home and really getting to them the way that you want it to. And everybody learns different, So one thing we do a lot of here at Stony Brook is we're pretty precise in the meeting room. We're not able to watch every clip of every practice, so we build a cut up, of corrections, some things that we did well, and go through that and are very efficient and organized when we do that and going through that. Because a lot of times, as you guys know, you might have so much time for film, you got to install stuff, and then we're big on doing walkthroughs before practice. So we'll get out there, cut out a little bit of our meeting time, get on the field and walk through some new concepts or whatever might be new that day, from conceptually. So that way when we get to practice, we're on point with that. So the guys have heard it not only in the meeting room, but they've walked through it, they've jogged through it, and they physically have done it as well. I think that's very important. And then I'm really big on script reviewing as well. So I'll take a couple minutes just to review the script. Maybe there's some plays that we really haven't ran a lot of, and just give the formation to play. and call on somebody and say, hey, what do you have on this route, or draw it up on the board. So making sure, like I said, that, they have every chance to see it visually, hear me talk about it, see the film, and then, us hopefully are able to walk through it, which we typically are here at Stony Brook, the way we set things up. So now I'm getting ready to dive, more into the fundamental progression, the drill, the film stuff. Before I get to that real quick, though, another important thing is I feel like it's important that one thing that I always try to do is, and, our head coach makes all of us do it, but I really believe in grading the film. So whether it's team period 7-on-7, having a grade so the guys know if they're meeting the standard or not every play. And then what I'll do is, I have a template that I use. Usually it's not a percentage grade, it's just a plus or a minus, and they'll have a little notes, a comment section. So I might tell them something that they did well on play number 1, or, something that they didn't do very well, and then at the end of everything, I have 10 guys right now, I'll have more in the fall, but at the end of everything, I try to give them some feedback, if these are some things you did well during practice, these are some things that I want to see you do better. Maybe you didn't finish well. Your finish grade wasn't very well. And I have that all on one document, and I send that to the guys just through a text message. I'll take a picture of it and send it right after we get done grading the film every day, So that way, that kind of helps them hold each other accountable. So they can see, man, if Johnny didn't do very well, finishing, or his effort wasn't great, everybody else sees that. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's very important. And I think that helps everybody, try to reach that standard of the expectations that I put out there. So, I think that's very important as far as that goes. But diving into this, these are some of the things that I'm going to touch on as we go. So like I said, if you guys have any questions anytime, please stop. So the first thing is pre-snap. Whether you're a no-huddle offense or a huddle, we're a no-huddle here at Stony Brook. The first thing, it is the receiver's responsibility to get the whole play call, whether that's through, signals, from a no-huddle, or whether it's through, calling a play out in the huddle. You have to get the whole play call and be able to process that information, very fast. I think that is critical. The faster you can process what your assignment is, it's going to help you, do some of the pre-snap things that I feel like are very important. The first thing is getting in line and getting in a great stance, and then from there, based off what your base splits are, with your alignment and your assignment, there might be an adjustment. You know what I'm saying? So you might have to cut your split in a little bit because it's a certain concept. You might have to cheat out a yard or two. We try not to micromanage our splits here. We have base splits for everything that we do. And then I just constantly talk to the guys, whether it's in meetings on the field, if I'm running the dig route and I'm the boundary outside receiver, I might want to cheat out a yard, to give myself a little more room. If I'm the field outside receiver and the ball's on the left hash, and I'm to the right and I'm the outside receiver and I'm running a out route out there as the number 1 receiver, I might want to cheat in a couple yards. I don't want to give away my split, but I want to align it with a smart split is what we call it. So, and then from there, I think identifying defensive structures and getting a pre-snap read is very important. I try not to get too complicated with coverage stuff with our guys. There's 3 things that they should look at. The first thing they should look at is how many safeties are on the roof. Is it a 1-high look or is it a 2-high look? That's going to give them a lot of information. The next thing, if I'm an outside receiver, I talk to them about the Dell theory, the corners, depth, eyes, and leverage. That's going to help me formulate a plan of attack. If he's playing heavy inside leverage, he's a soft corner, and I'm running the dig route, I'm going to probably have to stem coming off the ball to gain that leverage, gradually stem. So I think that's very important. If his eyes are looking directly at me and aren't looking the backfield at all, yeah, he could try to fool me, but he's probably going to be in some type of more man type of coverage, whether it's cover 1, or cover 0. And then if I'm an inside receiver, I talk to those guys about looking at that overhang defender. We call him the rover at Stony Brook, but is he lined head up? Is he apex? Or is he really tight at the box, which we call hedged here at Stony Brook? So just determining those factors from an inside or an outside perspective, I think helps those guys formulate a plan. I talk to our guys all the time. You never want to go out there blind, and the faster you can process what your responsibility, your assignment is, the more time you have to look at those defensive structures and pick up on those subtle techniques that might help you out with whatever your assignment is. All right, stance and start. One thing, that I believe in, I don't want any wasted movement with our stance and start. We're going to be in a great stance every time. I continually coach it, whether it's in film or whatever the case may be, whether we're on the field, that the guys probably get tired of me saying, get in a good stance, all right? Get a good get off. I constantly talk to that. As we get into this drill work, I'm not real big on just doing one thing. As we're doing drill work, I like to, incorporate 2 or 3 fundamentals within a drill. The drill will have its emphasis, but I want to incorporate 2 or 3 things so that we're getting more out of it. Because as you guys know, a lot of times you might only have 10 minutes of Indy, if that, sometimes maybe 15. So we got to try to get a lot done in a little bit of time, but we do want to have an emphasis. But as far as just from stance to start, I don't want our guys to be out there uncomfortable. The biggest thing I talk to them about is I want them to be in a nice chin-to-toe relationship, about 80% weight on their front foot, their toe pointed straight forward, and I don't want any wasted movement. We're going to roll off that front foot, and we're going to gain ground and not false step. The faster we can get on that DB, all right, the more separation that's going to help us, create with whatever route we're running. So this first drill, is one that I like, putting that step over bag right there. As you can see, the receiver's in a nice chin-to-toe relationship, a lot of his weight loaded up on that front foot. I like having that step over bag there to make sure we're gaining ground with that first step. So no wasted movement. I put the chute, the red chute, a little ways away from it, just so we're not popping up as we come out of that. And then we're executing some top of route work at the top of it. And I always try to end everything, as much as I can with the ball drill, just so we're catching as many footballs as possible. So the emphasis on this drill was a stance and start. And then we're incorporating just here, sinking our hips, over accelerating the arms at the top of the route. All right, the next thing, I want to talk about is releases versus the soft corner, versus the open access corner. So this is a drill. Once again, the emphasis is stance and start. We're getting in a great stance. Now we're already aligned within the chute to make sure we're, we have those power angles. We don't have any wasted movement. This is a competitive drill, very simple drill. And all we're doing, the guys are just racing through me. I call it the stance and start race drill, So we're always trying to go on movement as much as possible as well, all right? Because as a receiver, obviously, we watch the ball move. So the guys are just racing through me, right as they cross, I yell out who the winner is, just short, I don't want to kill their legs. And our individual, because we got routes on there, we got 7-on-7, we got team periods, so I like to try to keep things compact, as much as possible. Some other ways that I like to do this as well is I'll offset the cone. So now they're stemming and coming out at an angle. That really will show you a lot of times, if they're loading enough weight on that front foot, because a lot of guys, especially freshmen and sophomores, guys that don't focus a lot on stance and start, are going to false step coming out of that stance, if they have to angle departure release or stem release. All right. The next thing I really believe in, is getting great versus press release. I don't care how fast you are, how great you catch the ball. We see a lot of press in our conference. If you can't get off a press release or you can't be effective releasing versus a press corner, you're probably not going to be a very good receiver, at least in our league in the CAA. So the 3 things that I believe in, and our guys have to understand this, there's 3 ways, a corner can play you if he's playing a press technique. The number 1 way, he's typically aligned a little bit softer, and I call it a shadow technique. So on the snap of the ball, he's going to motor back and give a little ground, let you try to do all your dancing and shaking at the line of scrimmage, so he can create that separation and then just try to play you over the top and ride that hip. The biggest thing we got to do if a corner's playing this technique, and this is probably what we see the most, in our conference, is we can't waste time and we got to close the cushion and step on his toes. If I dance in place of the line of scrimmage and he's giving ground and I go to release inside right now, he's going to be able to cut me off, and it's going to be hard for me to get back vertical and hold my line or get vertical, if I release the inside and get and try to press that guy, like I said, back vertical. So we have to close the cushion. The next one is a jam technique. I define this as he's typically lined a little bit tighter, all right, and he's not necessarily lunging at you, but he's not giving ground. He's waiting for you to make a move, and he's trying to get a 2-hand or a 1-hand jam on you right now. All right, so the biggest thing we have to do versus this type of technique, our first step should come to balance, all right? So we should, our back foot should come even with our front foot. I want to be patient, and then I want to give something sharp and sudden and definitive, sell the opposite way of where I want to go, and go tight to the hip. Or I might gain the leverage and be sudden. So if I want to release inside, I can either work opposite or I can work his inside shoulder so I ensure that I gain the leverage and then do something sudden with my footwork and go tight to the hip and dip and rip. What I talk about with my hands is I either want to dip and rip, which you'll see in the drill work, or I want to swap punch. So if I swap punch, I don't like to say swim. I want us to be nice and compact where we're not giving that guy surface area. So I'm either going to dip and rip, reduce my surface area, get my shoulders parallel to the sideline, or I'm going to swap punch, and physically not let that guy get hands on us. The last technique that I talk about is the jack technique. This doesn't come out a whole lot in the game, but this is when a corner is trying to lunge at you and physically come at you right now. All right, so it's important that we peripher the ball, but we got to be able to see what he's doing. And a lot of times when they use this technique, alert the foot stagger. If you see that guy stagger his feet before the snap, he's probably getting ready to try to lunge at you, and we have to be ready with our hands. The other thing that I failed to mention versus press that I talked to the guys about is we want to bunch our stance. So now we don't want to have quite as much weight loaded up on our front foot, take a little bit off. We want to scoot our back foot up just a hair so that way we can get into our footwork, a lot faster. So this first one is versus softer shadow technique, the guy that's giving ground. I got that pop up there, about 2 yards away from the receiver, simulating that the DB is giving some ground. So the biggest thing we have to do here, like I talked about, is close the cushion. Boom, he executes a single stick right here. Boom, he sticks that right foot in the ground, dips and rips. Would like to get his shoulders a little more parallel to the sideline. All right, so we're working the release here. We got the hoop there to ensure that we're stacking. I think that does a good job of showing our guys how to stack. It's been successful for us. All right, and then we're hand fighting, and I'm working a high point drill, going up and attacking at this highest point. So the emphasis is the release, but we're also getting the ball drill out of it as well. Here's another one. This was from our winter program. Obviously, we weren't allowed to have a football in there, but we got some skill work done. Once again, it's kind of hard to see here, but I got the guy started about 2 yards back from where the defender is. We closed the cushion. I love our pad level by both these guys. We're reducing our surface area. They're working a swap punch. So they're swatting with that outside arm, and nice and compact punching through with that inside arm. And then we're working to stack and hold the line, going tight to the hip. Then we're throwing a tennis ball here because obviously we couldn't have a football. All right, but look at their footwork as well. Sharp and definitive. All right, we want to keep our feet within our framework or the framework of our body. All right, I'm big on doing drills. I love doing drills with pop-ups, with hoops, with arm pads and all that, but nothing simulates going versus press like actually going live. So during camp, we work a lot of release drills with our DBs, and then even during the season, I started bringing down, some of our scout DBs that we were able to get down there. If I knew we were going to see a lot of press that week, JMU, they press every play. So that week we were getting a lot of press work with our scout guys during individual, doing that stuff. So what I tell these guys here is just, pick a route, have a plan. I don't even give them a route. I want them to pick whatever route they want. You typically, I tell them you're the boundary receiver. Pick a route. We typically run in the boundary off our play action or off of our drop back or RPO. All right, and you execute it. So this is a shadow corner. He's giving a little bit of ground. I like the receiver. He doesn't waste time here. He closed the cushion, and then he reduces his surface area, working a dip and rip technique, and then he gets straight back vertical. Would like for him to stack the DB half a man. He was running the takeoff route here. So would like for him at this point is try to stack that guy. And I always talk to our guys stacking half a man. I don't want them to drastically work back inside. I want them just to stack half of the guy. All right, here's this was during the season, probably versus JMU versus shadow guys. You can see the corners, giving ground. I think the receiver he was running a glance route, so he did a good job closing the cushion. He gained the leverage here inside, had pretty sharp footwork, got back vertical, and then he snapped him off. All right, once again, this is during receiver individual period. I had scout DBs over there. I had them just pick a route that we ran into the boundary. Didn't have a ball drill incorporated in this because I wanted to get as many reps as possible. And we kind of had limited space. All right, so here's a game clip. We're looking at the field outside receiver, all right, versus a shadow technique corner. So I really like, and he's running a go route here. I really like what he does. Number one, he doesn't waste time, and he closes the cushion. All right, he closes the cushion. He steps on the guy's toes. All right, gives a hard jab inside, works the dip and rip technique. Boom, back vertical, and he goes up and physically attacks the ball at the highest point. But that release is what made that happen. If he just goes wide and outside right now and doesn't close that cushion and go tight to the hip, the DB is going to ride him to the sideline. And I love, during what I try to do in our meetings as well, if this happened versus Fordham this week, the next week, if we're going to see a lot of press, I'll show an individual clip, that clip that you just saw in practice, of them being able to see how those drills correlate to the game. I'll usually pull 1 or 2 clips every day in our meetings of individuals so those guys can see how that helped them be successful in the game, just so they don't think we're just doing stuff just to do it. All right, there's a purpose of why we do everything while we're on the field. All right, this next one, in this concept, we were running a RPO off the field safety. We call him the free safety. So this guy right here, we're running a glance route, versus a press corner. So the receiver does it. We're running a split mid-zone concept up front. But anyway, on the perimeter, the receiver did a great job closing the cushion, not wasting time, being sudden with his footwork, dipping and ripping, and then he gets right back vertical. All right, he doesn't let that guy dictate his route. He gets right when he releases inside, tightens the hip, he gets right back vertical, gets to his depth, then snaps him off. On our glance routes, we snap those off flat. All right, we go 7 steps on our glances, versus press. I tell the guys, if your steps get messed up, we're going to break around 10 yards. Like I said, our quarterback, we're RPO in that free safety. If he wants to fit to linebacker level, which he's already aligned there, he knows he's throwing it. If he stays back, and doesn't fit down the linebacker level, we're running the mid-zone concept to the left with split zone action. But everything right there, it was able to happen because of the release of the receiver. All right, this is more of a jam technique. So this is a corner that's trying to play physical at the line of scrimmage. So he's not lunging at you, but he's trying to get hands-on right now. The biggest thing, like I said, we need to come to balance with that back foot, and then we want to be nice and sudden at the line of scrimmage, be physical with our hands. All right, keep it nice and compact. He works a swat punch here. He swats that outside arm. We want to aim for the elbow. All right, when we're swatting with that outside arm, we want to aim for the elbow, and he's punching over the top. All right, would like for him to, get straight back vertical at this point. He kind of drifts inside a little bit too much. All right, he was kind of lazy here. Get straight back vertical. What we're actually doing in this drill is what I'm telling that guy, this the defender right here, is he's actually trying to block the receiver. All right, he did a poor job here doing it, but, we're overemphasizing that corner playing aggressive. He's literally trying to block the guy, keep his feet hot, square the guy up, and block. I want him to block him. So this is I really like this drill. I got it from Casey Dunn. And I think it's, you get a little bit of cross training. So we're getting some block work from the receiver standpoint, the guy on defense, and then it's great for releases as well, especially if a guy's going to be playing, physical at the line of scrimmage. All right, here's another live rep versus scout guy. All right, versus jam technique. I really like to just freeze it right here. Look at how he dipped and ripped, reduced his surface area. His shoulders were dang near parallel to the sideline. So that guy, even if he gets a hand on him, it's not going to affect him. All right. Then he did a great job of getting right back vertical. He was picked to run a stop right here. It's a 10-yard stop. Then he physically throws him by with that inside arm at the top of the route. Thought that was a very good job with the release at the line of scrimmage. He came to balance right there. Boom, back foot came to balance. He was nice and sudden, dipped and ripped, got vertical, and then he threw him by. Thought that was a very good job. All right, here's a jam corner. We're looking at the where the circle's at. We were actually running an RPO, a fade, off the whip right here. We were running counter to the boundary, so guard, fullback, counter. All right, the boundary safety fits down really hard. All right. The receiver did a really good job. Look at his back foot. Comes to balance, and then he is nice and sudden at the line of scrimmage. All right, he works what I call a double stick here. He comes to balance, and then he goes out and out. All right, sharp and definitive. Come to balance, out and out. All right, he's nice and compact with his hands. Thing that I like that he does too on this fade route, he doesn't look right away. We tell our guys not to look till you get 10 yards down the field. A lot of guys, when they beat a guy bad off the line of scrimmage, they want to look right now. All that's doing is slowing you down and giving the DB a chance to catch up, all right? So he does a good job with our fade route. Like I said, we look at 10 yards. That's kind of more off our quick game, all right? So he's looking at 10, all right? Then he does a good job of tracking the ball. But everything happened because of the release. Great release in the line of scrimmage. We're able to create an explosive play. All right, now we're moving to releases versus a downfield reroute. All right, so now this is versus a corner that's playing a squat technique or a cover two technique, or maybe it's an overhang guy versus a slot receiver, all right, trying to reroute the guy down the field. All right, so once again, we're going to work. I really like to emphasize the dip and rip technique on a downfield reroute opposed to the swap punch. All right, I'm fine with the swap punch if you keep it nice and compact and have great pad level. All right, but I really emphasize our guys to try to use more of the dip and rip technique if possible. So the biggest thing, just like a press release, we have to close the cushion. We got to step on that guy's toes. If I make my move, 3 yards from that guy, I'm telegraphing myself, and he's going to be able to cut me off and play me over the top. All right, so the guy does a good job here, closing the cushion, dipping and ripping, and then getting right back vertical. All right, that was a single stick. All right, so what I mean when I say single stick, all right, he closed the cushion. He knows he wants to go to the right here. All right, so he gives a hard jab with his left foot, but keeping his feet work, inside the frame of his body work. All right, we don't want to get overextended. All right, then he does a good job reducing that surface area, getting skinny, going tight to the hip. All right, this next clip is a double stick. So the guy's releasing to the left. All right, we want to close the cushion, get on the guy's toes, and then we want to go left, right, left. Sharp and definitive. Would like for him to get a little more skinny here. He's too square at the point of attack, but he does a good job with his footwork and good job with his hands. Then he's getting right back vertical. All right, here we're actually running the actual route. It's a slot guy. We're simulating, that might be a free safety. Coming down, they're running a cover three with the rover, the nickel, whoever you call him, blitzing off the edge. We're going to see a lot of that this week. We're working the dip and rip technique, getting right back vertical, and we're running the post curl from the slot. So what I like what he did here, we didn't let that guy dictate our route. He closed the cushion, boom, single stick, dip and rip, back vertical. All right, he got back vertical. That's the emphasis on this. Get to our depth, break it 10. All right, break it 14 on the post curl, and then finish. All right, now we're working the same thing. We just have a trash can out there, a barrel, simulating the defender, and now we're working a stem release. All right, so we're looking at this guy that I got the circle around. Does a good job not false stepping out of his stance. We're still in a stance and start. I'm still in that with everything I do and emphasizing it. Load up the stance, load up the stance, load up the stance. We're gaining ground. All right, getting skinny. Dipping and ripping, back vertical, finishing with the ball drill. All right, here it was obviously with the tennis ball. We also use volleyballs inside as well. I thought that was, good work for certain, especially like high point and other drills like that. All right, here doing the exact same drill, and we're working the double stick. All right, so that last one was a single stick. Now we're working the double stick. So I know I want to go left. I'm going left, right, left. All right, and dipping and ripping, left, right, left. All right, but short and compact, definitive, back vertical, finishing with the ball drill. All right, we're looking at the slot receiver to the field. He's running a bender route here, off of our play action, versus the quarters team. I'll put this in here because he does a great job on this downfield reroute, reducing the surface area and not letting that guy reroute him. All right, reduce the surface area. And then at the top of the route, he did a great job he got widened probably a little too much. The free had heavy inside leverage at that point. So he really flattened that thing off to make sure he crossed that guy's face. And then obviously that was a heck of a catch at the end of that as well. All right, but the emphasis, that I really liked here was that dip and rip there is what made it possible. If he didn't do a great job on that reroute, dipping and ripping, getting skinny, he was going to get widened way too wide. All right, this next one, we're looking at the boundary receiver. He didn't actually get the ball here, but I thought this was a great job, versus a cover 2 corner. We call that a level corner, a level technique. He's running a 14-yard dig here on the backside of one of our drop back concepts. He does a good job attacking that guy's leverage, getting skinny there, dipping and ripping, and then getting right back vertical. He doesn't keep drifting inside. He gets, boom, right back vertical, get to his depth, and then we're coming out of that, on the dig route. All right, the next thing I'm going to talk about, is a crucial versus downfield reroute or a catch technique. Now, I'm going to show one clip of this. I talk to the guys all the time you got to have good footwork. You got to be physical with your hands, but you have to anticipate the contact. If you're not ready for it, you're not ready with your hands, he's going to knock you off and get hands on you first. So we want to anticipate that contact and not let that guy get hands on us first. So we're running a double move, a corner post down here at the bottom. Boom, right there, he's ready with his hands. All right, he feels that guy playing flat-footed. He maybe gave away the corner just a hair too early. All right, boom, but he's physical with his hands as that guy's trying to grab him. All right, so he's able to get physically run through that. I think that is important talking to your guys about, boom, anticipate the contact.
Coach, got a question here for you.
Yes, sir.
Any coaching points you use against inside leverage catch man, specifically if running an inside breaking route?
Yeah, so the first thing, I'll get to some clips here in a minute that we do, but versus the inside cover, versus inside technique, the first thing, and we're running a dig route or maybe a glance route, is we want to stem that defender. So we want to stem his inside shoulder. And when I say stem, we're not drastically stemming at the bottom of the route. We're gradually, as we're getting off the ball, gradually, gaining the leverage. Because I think if you stem too much at the bottom, you're not getting vertical push on the guy now. Or you're wasting too much time drastically going inside, then back vertical, and all that guy's going to do is maintain his leverage. We want to gradually just gain it as we go. And then if he's playing flat-footed at the top of the route, I got to make sure that I'm, number one, ready with my hands. I anticipate that contact, and I knock that guy's hands off right now. So I'm going to freaking, push and club by that guy and come flat as possible to keep my body between him and the ball. I think there's a couple clips later on here to where what I just described, it kind of happens. Any other question? Did that answer the question?
Yes, sir. We're good. Okay. We're good right now, Coach.
Okay, perfect. The next thing I want to talk about is, footwork at the top of the route. So one thing an individual we work a lot of, within drills, maybe if we're working releases, we're also working on top of a route. That way we're not killing the guy's legs, but we're working on, getting in and out of breaks efficiently. I think that, releases and top of the routes, stance and start's always important, but I think, seeing guys come from high school to college, the biggest things that, I think that guys can always improve on is releases and freaking top of the routes. So we spend a lot of time with that. So kind of 5 coaching points that I really believe in on any route that's going to help make you successful is, number one, your eyes, the stare at depth. You want to look that defender right in his eyes. I shouldn't be looking at the ground as I'm running a route. I want to look that guy right in his eyes. At the top of the route, I want to have a sharp, crisp, definitive pressure step. So, boom, I want to stick my foot in the ground, and just create hesitation in that defender. I talk to our guys all the time about hesitation helps create separation. That's just kind of a cool little coaching point that I picked up on. A guy told me one time, and I really like it. Hesitation creates separation. Our guys will say that all the time. They'll be like, Coach, look right there. That hesitation created the separation. So, like I said, I've always liked to use that. At the top of the route, we have to do a great job sinking our hips. If I'm leaning too far back or I'm standing straight up, I'm not going to be explosive, and twitchy getting out of that route. So I have to be able to sink my hips. I should be in a nice chin-knee-toe relationship as I'm sinking my hips. My chin, should be almost aligned with my knee, with my toe. I don't want to be leaning back and peeking, but I also don't want to be leaning too far forward to where I'm going to slip at the top of the route. And then I want to accelerate the arms at the top of the route. That's going to help for 2 things. Number one, it gives the illusion of going deep, and most important to me, it helps you with body control. So you see some of those guys that are running and their arms get way out here at the top of the route, that's not helping with their body control getting in and out. I want our arms to be, in nice and tight, and depending on which way I want to go, I might rip that inside elbow or that outside elbow to help with my my body control. But those 5 coaching points, you know, I really believe in are crucial for any route at the top of it. You know, the next thing is just kind of, you know, some of the different cuts. All right, the first one I'll talk about is the angle cut. So this is any post, any slant, any corner. You know, we're still in a stance and start rep here. All right, boom, we're just working an angle cut. So typically off an angle cut, I like giving our guys, you know, in drill work, we do a lot of stuff on our angle cut off of footwork instead of yards. You know, a few things are in yards, but a lot of it is off of footwork, more of our quick game and intermediate stuff. All right, so we're going, you know, 3 total steps here, and we're working an angle cut. So just a traditional slant. You know, we shouldn't ever break stride. The guys shouldn't have to get choppy with this. Our stride length should never break. It should be nice, fluid, and smooth. Boom. That pressure step right there, nice and definitive, you know, and we're coming out of that. We typically flatten our slants off a little bit more than this. You know, he's probably a little bit too steep here. All right, we're looking at the boundary slot receiver. All right, he's running the corner route. So on this one, it's not as much off footwork. We say break it 10 to 12 yards. All right, so he's breaking at 10 to 12. But at the top of the route, all it is an angle cut. All right, once again, he should not break stride. Everything should be full stride length. All right, boom, stick your foot in the ground, you know, and come out of it, you know, at that angle off the safety. We typically want to hold our corner routes high, let the quarterback flatten you off. And then it's kind of a feel thing as well. You know, if that corner's high and over the top with heavy outside leverage, we might have to flatten it out just a hair. It's just, you know, and the quarterback and receivers have to get, you know, a relationship built and routes on air and things like that as well. All right, the speed cut, you know, I think the speed cut is very similar to the angle cut because you shouldn't have to break stride. There should be no breakdown, transition at all within the speed cut. You know, this is probably the one that I see high school guys struggle with the most. You know, they want to get choppy at the top of the route, or they're just, you know, they're not gaining enough speed in and out of the break. You know, so we're still in a stance and start. I like going off footwork on the speed cut as well. We're just going off our 4 total steps or 2 inside steps. Really, I'm throwing the ball from where I'm at, but really we're running an out-breaking route. So, you know, I told the guys in vision that I was on the other side. I just made it a little bit easier on me to throw the ball here because I'm not a great quarterback. But we're going 4 total steps. His inside foot is up, so really the quarterback is to his left. You know, everything's straight vertical. And then what I always tell our guys on our speed cut is right before you hit that last cut or that last step, you know, we call it a cheat step. So you're going to get your momentum and your plant foot turned in the direction that you are breaking to. And you're going to physically rip, you know, the outside elbow, you know, in this picture. So that way that we're able to gain speed coming out of it. All right, and we're coming flat to negative. All right, a lot of times you'll see guys drift out of this, you know, if they don't do a good job, you know, breaking at the top of the route. You know, what I typically see a lot of guys where they struggle with this is as I'm going here, I want to step inside hard to get outside. All right, I see that a whole lot. You know, that's one of the habits that you know, I really have to break with some of our guys. Instead of getting our plant foot turned, they want to step drastically inside to try to fake the guy out and then execute a speed cut. But it just, you can't do that. All right, it's hard. It's too hard, you know, to get in and out of that efficiently doing that.
Coach, got a question here for you.
Yep.
Do you encourage pay no mind or try to remove the toe drag?
I try to, you know, if I see it, you know, if guys are slipping, getting in and out of it, you know, I'll say something about it. But if guys, you know, typically aren't slipping in and out of it, you know, I really don't, you know, harp on it too much. Like if I see a guy that's constantly slipping and his toes dragging, you know, it's probably the reason why. But if I never see a guy with the toe drag or the toe drags and never slips, you know, I might mention it to him, but I'm not going to make a big deal out of it. I guess that's probably the way that I've coached it in the past.
Cool.
All right, but once again, here's another guy, does a good job of right before that last step, you know, he's pressure stepping, but he's still turning that plant foot, you know, in the direction that he's going and ripping that inside elbow so he can come flat to negative. All right, here's another one. All right, now we're going 6 total steps or 3 inside steps. All right, so our inside foot is up in our stance. So this is a little bit deeper. Typically, the deeper the route is, you know, the more they struggle with getting in and out of this break. All right. So once again, both these guys do a pretty good job of turning that plant foot, getting their momentum going right before that last step in the direction they want to go. You know, another big coaching point is not overextending that plant foot. You know, a lot of guys want to reach for that step. No, it should be, you know, right underneath you in that nice chin-to-toe relationship with your hips sunk. All right. And then we want to gain ground, you know, out of that and not lose speed. All right, here's one more. You know, here we're actually running a glance route, but the way we typically flatten ours off, you know, it's basically a speed cut at the top of the route. So this is kind of what I was talking about earlier. This cone, we're saying that's the inside defender, all right, that has inside leverage. So with our glance route, we want to, or if I'm running the out route over here, you know, I want to gradually gain the leverage, all right? So it's not drastic. It's gradually so that I'm still getting vertical push, but I'm also just gradually gaining the leverage. And what I told our guys, because I didn't know what it meant for the longest as a player, what does leverage mean? All leverage means is advantage. So if I'm running an inside breaking route, I want to, you know, gain the advantage so that I can make a play at the top of the route. But this guy does a good job gradually gaining it. Boom. In a nice chin-to-toe relationship, and gets out of that gaining speed. All right, here we're RPOing. We got an RPO concept. You know, we're running a split zone to the field with split flow. All right, we're RPOing the boundary safety here with a 6-step out cut or 3 inside steps. So we talk about steps on this, 6 total. Some guys like, you know, counting inside and outside steps better. So I talk in total steps, but I'll also will break it down in inside and outside for those guys, you know, because, you know, some guys, like I said, everybody's a little bit different. So we're looking at the boundary receiver. He's going 6 total steps or 3 inside. I'm counting inside. 1, 2, 3. Boom. He turns that plant foot and accelerates out of the cut with speed. All right, here now we're running the RPO, that field glance again off the free safety. We're looking at the field receiver. Defender has slight inside leverage. You know, we want to gradually stem to gain the leverage. We're going 7 total steps on our glance route or 4 outside steps. I'm going to count outside steps here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Boom, he turns that plant foot, gets his momentum going in that direction so he can flatten it off. All right. In this concept, just talking a little scheme. All right, we're running a zone play at the free safety, a split zone play. All right, and we're reading him. If he fits down to linebacker level, we're throwing it right behind his head. All right, then getting yards after catch, huge. You know, we gave him a lot of crap here because he got caught, you know, in the receiver room. So we had some fun with him on that, but did a great job running the route and creating explosive play. All right, the 45-degree cut, you know. I talked about the speed cut. You know, a lot of times high school guys or guys that are new to the program or even, you know, some of our older guys that are a little bit stiffer, aren't as loose in the hips, struggle with that speed cut. A lot of guys struggle with the 45-degree cut as well. What I define the 45-degree cut is I used to call it an M cut. Our OC likes calling it 45, so I switched to calling it that. But it's any curl, any comeback, you know, any hook route, or we're coming out of that driving back to the quarterback. So it's physically impossible in this route, in my opinion, to run full speed, stick my foot in the ground, and be able to run a crisp route driving back to the quarterback without breaking stride at the top of the route, especially once I get past, you know, 10 yards. So what I talk to our guys in this is we want to have a 3-step transition. So it shouldn't take us any more steps than 3 steps to get in and out of this route. So I really like this drill here. I call it the 3-step transition suddenness drill. This first cone, we're going to overemphasize. All right. Boom. 1, 2, 3. We're going to overemphasize, you know, driving, you know, that lead leg into the ground. All right. It's how fast can you decelerate? All right. As you're sinking your hips and over accelerating the arms. 1, 2, 3. And then 1, 2, 3, and we're out. So we're overemphasizing it on the first cone, the deceleration, the sinking your hips, the 3-step transition. All right. 1, 2, 3. And then at the top cone, we're actually getting out of it. 1, 2, 3, coming back to the quarterback, you know. So like I said, I do this drill a lot, you know. I think it's easy on the guy's legs. You know, we're not running 50 yards down the field, but it's working great fundamental work with sharp footwork. 1, 2, 3, out. You know, a lot of times you'll see guys, it takes them 5 steps or maybe even more. They get too choppy. All that's doing is giving the defender more time to drive on that ball. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and we're out. And we're ripping the inside elbow. All right, here's another one. I call this the M drill. All right, once again, 1, 2, 3. You know, the cone, and what I tell the guys is you don't necessarily have to go around the cone, in front of the cone. The cone is just a landmark. All right, you just press the cone. All right, and it's off of footwork. 1, 2 at the top of the route. It shouldn't take you more than 3 steps to get out of that. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, out, catch it, and then we're always, like I said, working on finishing. You know, trying to create those instincts of muscle memory of getting yards after the catch. So here we're running a curl flat concept to the field, and then we're running a hook route to the boundary as well. We're looking at the boundary receiver. He does a great job. You know, the corner has heavy inside leverage, so he's gradually stemming that guy. All right. Once again, it's not drastic. It's just gradually so that we're still getting vertical push as well. And then 1, 2, 3, and he's out. I really like the way he sunk his hips, over-accelerated the arms, and then drove back to the football. All right. The things that you typically see in this route, at the top of the route, guys want to lean back. They want to peek. They want to start looking, you know, before they get out of the break. So we want to 1, 2, 3, and right before that last plant step, we want to slightly turn our foot in the direction that we're going to help us get momentum getting out of that. But as you can see, that drill, it translated, you know, right to the game clip. All right, the 90-degree cut. So this is any type of a square cut, any type of a square dig, a square out. We really don't run any square outs, but we do run some dig routes to square cut. All right. So we're still in a release here. The emphasis is the 90-degree cut, but we're working a release where we got to gain some leverage on the release. All right. Work a dip and rip technique, getting back vertical. 1, 2. All right. What I talk about on the 90-degree break, instead of a 3-step transition, you should be able to get in and out of that break in a 2-step transition. So it should be inside, outside foot, and you're out. All right. All right. So a lot of people call it post plant. All right. So let's look at this guy with the circle on him. All right. Nice sudden release, dip and rip, back vertical, inside, outside, post plant, and he's out. All right. We're pressing, you know, full speed, 1, 2, out. I call that the 2-step transition. And we're getting out of that flat to slightly negative. And that is, you know, if that defender is playing a catch technique at the top, you know, with slight inside leverage, we better come freaking, you know, out of that a little bit slightly negative to keep our body, you know, in between him and the ball and be ready with our hands and not let him get hands on us first. All right, here's just a quick 5-yard in, you know, off of RPO quick game concept that we do. We're RPOing the overhang, number 7 here. You know, if he's fit into the box here, it could have been a give read, but the quarterback decided to throw it because he was already tucked in so far. All right, we're just running a double slant principle with a 5-yard in on the outside. All right, but he does a good job, you know, inside, outside. In this route, we specifically talk about 3 big steps off the ball, 2 little. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and you're out, you know. And the other thing I talk to him about on this specific route is as you're getting out of that route, if it's zone coverage, don't run in their full speed to get your head knocked off. Have a little pace. We're not stopping or slowing down, but just have some pace. All right, you don't have to run in their full speed where all the traffic's at. Now, if it's man coverage, then, yeah, you got to run away from the guy and accelerate. All right, here's a dig concept, a 14-yard dig on the backside of one of our drop back concepts. We're looking at the boundary receiver. All right, but as you can see, full speed, 1, 2, and he's out. All right, coming flat. 1, 2, out. All right, did a good job sinking his hips at the top of the route, over accelerating the arms. All right, and getting out of that flat to negative. All right, the next thing I'm going to talk about is separation techniques. So, you know, what I talk to our guys all the time is, you know, the corners and the defensive backs are on scholarship too. So you might run get a great release. You know, you might run a perfect route, But at the top of the route, if he's still in good position, we got to physically do something to create separation. So hopefully this kind of helps talk about, if a guy's playing a catch technique, what you have to do at the top of the route, or if, he's just right on your hip, from playing press or has covered you really well, what you have to do to physically create separation. So in simplest terms, if I'm running an inside breaking route and the defender has outside leverage, I want to lean and separate. If I'm running an outside breaking route and the defender has inside leverage, I want to lean and separate. All right. In turn, if I'm running an inside breaking route and the defender has inside leverage, I want to push and throw by at the top. If I'm running an outside breaking route and the defender has outside leverage, I want to push and throw by at the top to get back outside. So I got some clips for that. Real quick, let me grab my charger and plug that in because this computer's about to die. If anybody has any questions, feel free to ask. This is probably a good time.
Yeah, you're good, Coach. Yeah, if anybody has any questions, guys, feel free to drop it in the chat box. I know we got a couple already, but, if you have any more, feel free to drop them in there.
All right, we should be good. Any questions or?
No, we're good, Coach.
Okay. All right, so here we're working a lean and separate technique. So we're running an inside breaking route. Maybe we're working the top of the glance route. So we're simulating we're already down the field. All right, the defender's tight on our hip with outside leverage. So boom, we want to lean and separate, fight pressure with pressure. Forearm shiver with bent arm pressure, just create some separation, lean and separate, and be explosive out of that. Catch and finish. All right, here we're simulating, we're running the outside breaking route. So the defender within the route has inside leverage. We're running the outside breaking route with a speed cut. All right, I want to lean and separate. It's important with this drill, if you do it with a bag, you don't have to do it with a bag, but if you do it with a bag, the guy that's holding that bag is just as important. They got to hold that bag tight to hold the bag tight to their body, so the receiver has some resistance on that. If they hold it away from their body, it's flimsy. It's not getting the job done. All right, lean and separate. So here's a game clip of it. We're looking at the boundary receiver running that dig again. All right, it's subtle, all right, but it does just enough to create some separation. All right, lean and separate with bent arm pressure. We don't want to extend the arm. It's bent arm pressure. All right, catch and get vertical. All right, here's one more. I really like this one. It wasn't necessarily a great route, especially at the top of the route, but he still won. All right, didn't get the ball here, but he actually still won. If the quarterback would have stuck with it, on his alert, he could have went to this. So he's running basically a burst corner route. We call it a crash route from the outside. Didn't do a great job with the release. Kind of gets hemmed up a little bit right here. The guy gets hands on him, but he did a great job at this point fighting pressure with pressure, lean and separating. He creates separation right there, from the defender. Like I said, if the quarterback would have threw it, he had enough separation to be able to make a play. All right. And that's what I talk to our guys about all the time. Never give up on a route. All right. Even if you don't get a great release, if you're hemmed up midway through the route, keep running and keep fighting and do a great job, creating that separation at the top of it, and win that one-on-one matchup. It's part of our brand. All right, now we're running an inside breaking route and the defender has inside leverage. So maybe we're running a curl route, that 45-degree cut at the top of it. All right, or maybe it's the 90-degree cut, the square cut at the top. All right, and we got to, I call this push and throw by. All right, so he's, boom, put your hand on his back hip, come over with that outside hand, nice and compact. All right, we don't want to get too overextended or swim move. It needs to be nice and compact so we don't give that guy any surface area to knock us off the route, catch and finish. All right, here's a game clip of it. We're looking at the boundary receiver. This was an RPO off the boundary safety with a stop route, so this is a 10-yard stop route. So does a decent job with the release. The defender's in good shape, but he does a good job, He's a little short on his depth, but he does a decent job of boom. Keeping that inside hand, throwing that guy by, all right, to physically create some separation. All right, the next thing, ball skills. You guys have heard this all your life, but I constantly talk to our guys about, you're not just catching the ball with your hands, you catch it with your eyes first, all right? Catch it with your eyes first, all right? Then obviously you guys know the thumb together, pinky together, all that type of stuff, the hand placement type of deals. And that's one thing, I'm never really big on, at practice, if a guy drops the ball, catch the ball, I want to try to give them some positive feedback as much as possible, of you dropped that because your hand placement was probably wrong or you didn't watch it all the way in. I don't want to just say coach the ball. I don't feel like I'm coaching anything up, So I want to give them some real feedback of probably why they didn't catch. They didn't watch it all the way into the tuck, I talk to guys about watching the white laces, all the way into your hands. All right. So here we're working just a track the ball drill. One thing that, that we do off of our 4 vertical game and our play action vertical game is we're throwing that ball 42 yards down the field, 38 to 42 yards. So we tell the receivers, you don't even look until you get, 20 yards down the field. So we have a lot of problems with some of our younger guys. And, I feel like it's kind of just human nature as a receiver. And once you get even with the DB, so if he's at 10 yards and you get even with him maybe at around 12 to 15 yards, you want to look right now. Once again, all that's doing is slowing you down. So I like this drill. Not only are we working on tracking the ball, but we're also simulating, all right, we're even with the corner, at about, 15 yards here. We're going to continue to accelerate and run to the cone, which is 20 yards. I've shortened the drill. It's not actually 20 yards, but we're assuming that we're already within the route at the start of it. We're just still in a stance and start. But, I'm even with the corner. I'm probably hand fighting, but I want to just keep running, all right, and not look right now because all that's doing is slowing me down. I want to continue to gain speed. All right, and then he does a great job here. I love this clip. I'll freeze it right here. He watches it all the way into the tuck. His eyes go to the catch. All right, this was a 4 vertical concept, a seam ball, but it was almost just like the drill as far as watching the ball into the catch. I'll freeze it here, but if you look at his eyes, I can tell he watched that ball all the way in. It's a little thing, but it's a big thing. Watch it all the way in. This allowed us, late in the game, we completed that, ran and spiked the ball, kicked the field goal, and the time was out. We ended up winning this game, all right, because of that catch. I mean, some other things, but that catch was a huge part of it, that throw and catch. But boom, eyes to the catch. All right, here's just I like doing this drill if I feel like, during camp, or actually I'm not at that drill yet. This is the high point drill, so we're working a release versus shadow corner, but the emphasis, hand fighting, boom, but the emphasis is a high point drill, so we're going up and attacking the ball at the highest point. All right, going up and attacking it like a rebound, all right, and then we want to, snag the ball away from the defender physically and down violently so he can't get his hands in there late. We're looking at the field outside receiver. All right, we're running the sluggo concept. All right, he does a good job versus cover 2 corner, all right, of not getting hemmed up right there. And then he does a great job. It might be hard to see on your guys' screen, but going up and attacking it with body control at the highest point. All right, here's just a stationary catch drill. I try to get as many, with ball drills, as many contested catch stuff as possible as well, at least some form of it every day. So this is just a stationary one, where everybody will get 5 catches. We're saving some legs here, 5 catches, and then you're out. All right, just nice and quick. Working some distraction drill. All right, here's one where we're on the move. We're working the top of the curl route. We got a guy standing there trying to swat it right after he catches it. All right, and then we're finishing. So just working a contested catch drill, I think that's very important, making sure we get that in there. But once again, every drill that I do, I like to incorporate, at least probably 2 to 3 fundamentals within the drill. All right, here's a game clip of it being executed. So we're looking at the boundary receiver. He runs a hook route. It's a curl at 12 yards. We call it a hook. Our curl route is at 14 yards, if you want to know the difference. But, you know, kind of gets hemmed up here. The corner's playing a catch technique. So this is almost just like the question that somebody asked earlier. You know, we're running an inside breaking route. The corner's playing catch, flat foot at the top. We got to do a good job of controlling that through that, being ready with our hands, you know, creating some separation, leaning and separating, and then physically attacking the ball, extending our hand. This is why it's important, you know, of not body catching, all right? If he body catches this right here, it's not going to be a catch. But the fact that he extends his hands, goes out and physically attacks the ball violently, you know, is why he's able to make that contested catch. Here's a good view from it here. Boom. All right, ball security. You know, obviously once we get the ball in our hands, we got to be able to make plays, create explosive plays, and not turn the ball over. All right, so the biggest thing, you guys have heard all these things before, wrist above the elbow, you know, tucking the elbow with the back door. All right, running with great pad level, especially, you know, running backs. You know, I think running back coaches do a great job of overemphasizing that, you know, but, you know, a lot of times from a receiver and from a skill standpoint, I don't think, you know, all the time that even I don't emphasize, you know, playing with great pad level once you have the ball. I think that's important, you know, not only to help you break more tackles, but also, you know, for ball security purposes. All right. And then getting two hands in traffic. So anytime we're splitting defenders or we feel guys converging on us, we want to get two hands on the football. You know, how, you know, a lot of guys used to teach more old school, you know, getting two hands on the football. I don't know if you can see me, but like this. Now, you know, a lot of people are going to, and I'm the fan of, you know, we call it caging it. Some people call it grabbing the watch or grabbing the wrist. But if I have the ball here, I want to take this arm, you know, and grab my wrist or cage it here. I just think that allows us to keep our eyes up. We're not looking down. When I'm here, I'm naturally looking down. If I'm here, my eyes are up. I'm still able to have good pad level, and I'm able to get skinny, you know, to try to run through the smoke. All right. And then I'm big on not switching the ball in traffic. So even if the ball is not in your outside hand, you know, and you're in traffic, I'm not a big stickler on that. You know, don't ever switch the ball. And that's one of my pet peeves. Don't ever switch the ball in traffic. In my opinion, that's how fumbles happen. Now, if we're in the wide open field, you know, and you don't have anybody near you and you know 100% sure, then, yeah, I'm fine with you switching the ball over the top, getting to your outside hand. But if you're in the middle of the field, you know, if you're even on near the sideline and you feel guys getting near you, you know, just cover the ball up with two. Do not switch the ball in traffic. All right, here's a drill. We run some of these one-step slants as just alerts with some of our run game stuff. All right, so this is a good clip. You know, with our ball security, I don't like just doing stuff that don't really necessarily, you know, that I know we're not going to really see in a game. So I try to make it as realistic as possible for what we do. You know, so I'll mix it up. You know, I always steal this during our field goal extra point because none of our receivers are involved with that. So I'll get down there, you know, I always create some type of gauntlet or do some type of stuff. And here we're running a one-step slant, you know, catching it, getting vertical. He's caging it through the gauntlet, caging it, you know, and I'll typically stand back there, you know, about 5 yards through there to make sure he's keeping his eyes up. And then he has to make a cut off me. So he has to press my toes and make a cut off me, then get back vertical. So here's a game clip of it being executed in the game. Once again, this is off of our run game, but it's a pre-snap alert. So the quarterback knows he's throwing this pre-snap based off the alignment of the rover and the corner being a soft corner. We're running a one-step slant by the outside guy and a one-step by the inside guy. The inside guy is just trying to protect the outside throw, hold his technique, then cross face. One step by the outside guy, get it to him now. Catch it vertical. There's the ball security drill. Cage it. We didn't have the best pad level here. If he has better pad level there, he might be able to run through that smoke, you know, and get more yards after the catch. Sorry, my computer's freezing a little bit. All right. The last thing I want to touch on, you know, I know probably went over my time, but, you know, like I said, I really appreciate you guys.
Man, you're good, bro.
Blocking, you know, so, you know, one thing we ask our guys here at Stony Brook is to be physical blockers. So, yeah, we do attach the perimeter screens, the alerts, the RPOs, but we also just go in and block guys as well, whether that's with our run game, where we got to get in there and read support, more of an MDM type of deal, which I'll show here in a second, or if we are, blocking on the perimeter, more of a perimeter blocking type of a mindset. So our guys need to know the difference. There's a difference, in my opinion, between a physical crack block where we're going in there trying to, get safeties and things of that nature, and then a perimeter block. The fundamental stuff is pretty similar, but the mindset and the way that you approach the block is a little bit different. So this is more of a perimeter progression. So I like we had a lot of time to just work on, just fundamentals with some of our winter program stuff combined with our strength and conditioning and all that. So here I got the guys holding the medicine ball. I like putting those step over bags there because that, ensures it in their mind, and I can see it, that after contact, they have a nice, good base underneath of them. The feet cannot go narrow, or else you're not going to be able to sustain the block. We got tight hands and elbows. We're fitted up already, and we're just working I call this the fit finish drill. So we're already fitted up. All right, and now after when I, say ready, go, or whatever the command is, they're just pounding their feet in the ground, wanting to get all the cleats in the ground with nice, short steps. I don't want to stride it out too much, maintaining a nice base. And I don't want to get extension. Once I punch, I want to keep him in there nice and tight. All right, because once I get extension, now he's able to dip, rip, and try to get off that block. If I can keep him in there nice and tight, it's harder for him to get off the block. So I, emphasize that with our guys. This was the next step. So now we're not fitted up. We're just taking one step, and we're punching, all right? Tight hands and elbows. I was overemphasizing even more, almost like an offensive lineman here with the double hand over. It's kind of uncomfortable for our guys. I don't know if they'll probably ever do that in the game, but it's just overemphasizing the tight hands and elbows, to make sure that we're not getting holding calls, and things of that nature. So one step. And the biggest thing here is, I want to, on the fit, I want to see explosion through the hips, just like they're power cleaning in the weight room. All right, and then we're finishing for 5 with a nice base. Got the step up there. Now we're putting it all together. So now maybe I'm blocking for a double option on the backside for the quarterback, or maybe for a bubble screen on the perimeter. So I want to, tempo off the ball. We're not coming full speed off the ball. All right, tempo off the ball. All right, once I get in what I call the strike zone, which is about 3 to 4 yards from the guy, I want to break down, but I don't want to just break down and stop and wait for the guy to come to me. I want to continue to close the cushion. So what I call that is moving in power. And all that is defined is once I break down, I want to continue to gain ground. All right, so our guys know that like the back of their hand. It's called moving in power. So I close the cushion, I break down, and then I move in power. Break down, move in power. All right, boom, strike and finish, with a nice base. If you look at the guy, this blocking 23, he maintains a nice base after contact. All right, the guy blocking 84, his base gets narrow. He's probably not going to be able to sustain that block. All right, now we're doing an actual perimeter blocking drill versus the DBs. All right, walk off tempo. I'm not coming off the ball full speed. All right, if I do that and we're running a bubble and the corner triggers, I'm in a compromised position. I can't recover. So we're walk off tempo. That's exactly what we call it. Walk off, moving in power to close the cushion. And I'm basically taking the guy right down on our bubble screens. We tell him literally, you're not picking a side, you're not levered, you're taking him right down the middle. All right. And then the other thing is, boom, his hands are a little too wide here. I strike. If my feet do go dead on contact, it's how fast can I restart my feet, all right? Because a lot of times your feet might go dead, the defensive back's feet might go dead. Whoever restarts their feet first, and has tighter hands is probably going to be who wins the block. So I love that way he finishes here. It's kind of a stalemate there, but he restarts his feet and keeps his hands in nice and tight. All right, here we're running a bubble screen. This is a pre-snap throw for us, so the quarterback knows he's throwing this pre-snap. A lot of times with our RPO game, we'll have a pre-snap deal component to it and then a post-snap. So we're always talking about controlling the 7th hat and 11 personnel, the 7th hat on every side. So to the field, we have 3 ways that we can control the 7th hat, which is in this picture, the nickel overhang, we can block him. All right. We can pre-snap throw off of him, you know, or we can RPO him. To the boundary, same thing with the whip. We call the weak safety the whip. We can block him. All right. We can alert him with a quick out or something. All right. Or we can RPO him with a glance, with a deeper out route, with a stop route. All right. So that was just kind of how we do our RPO stuff. But here, this is our bubble screen. But we're looking at the outside receiver. All right. He knows, you know, in this, we are throwing the ball off the rover. So you're not – on our MDM in this, we're thinking corner. And the only time you're not getting the corner is if the safety, you know, absolutely declares itself. And it should happen right in front of you naturally. But we're never blocking the rover in this. Because if the rover, you know, if he sprints out or he aligns out over number 2, we're not throwing this. We're handing the ball off. All right. So the receiver does a good job, you know, tempoing off the ball. Moving and powered, all right, and then restarting his feet on contact. And we're able to steal 7 yards. All right, now I'm almost done, but this is, you know, more of a component of our crack blocks, our blocks where we're going in there getting safeties and physically, you know, blocking guys. On this, there really is no movement and power. There's no breakdown at all. We're trying to get on the guy right now, you know, and get fitted up and restart our feet. All right, so there should be no breakdown component, you know, because if we're going in there and getting the safety, it's probably some type of inside run play. So if the guy wants to run around the block to the outside, all he's doing is taking himself out of the play. All right, so we're getting right on, you know, that near shoulder, getting on him now, boom, strike and finish. Finishing with a nice base. Here's a picture of it. We're looking at the bound, not the guy going in motion, but the guy with the reduced split into the boundary. The safety's already aligned down. The guy with the dreads. We're running a power scheme to the right. We're responsible for that safety. Boom. You know, there's really no breakdown. He probably even broke down a little more than what I would like, but not bad. Got on him now. Nice strike with tight hands and elbows. You know, accelerate the feet. You know, we had some leakage from the inside or else that would have been a freaking long run. All right, this wasn't necessarily a great technique block with his hands, but I put this on here just because, you know, it shows emphasizing with the guys. We're looking at the boundary receiver. You know, he's blocking that safety there. All right. You know, we have to shoot our hands because if we go in there and throw shoulder, they're going to call penalties on the blind side block nowadays with that type of stuff. So we want to shoot it should still be a physical freaking block, but we have to shoot our hands with it, all right? So he needs to shoot his hands. He kind of chicken wings it here and throws his shoulder. But, you know, he does just enough to get a piece of that safety to where that guy can't make the play because he's the 7th hat on that side of the field, the guy we can't account for unless we block him, RPO him, or alert him. We block him here, all right, and we turn a 7-yard run, you know, into a 40-yard explosive run. All right, last clip I'm going to show. This is more of a runoff technique. So, you know, either a runoff or a block at the line of scrimmage technique. You know, I like this here. You know, obviously we can just run off and block down the field late, you know, which I'm typically a fan of. But I tell our guys to mix it up every now and then, you know, especially if you're more on the backside of the play. All right. So I like here, he just freaking explodes in the guy. All right. This is what I talk about, playing with a physical mindset. All right. Drives the guy freaking to the bench. All right. All right, that's all that I really got. So, you know, if you guys have any questions or anything, you know, I'd love to answer any questions. But, you know, I appreciate you guys taking your time and tuning in. Hopefully, you know, even if you only got one thing out of it to take back to your guys or any ideas or anything, you know, hopefully it was productive. Like I said, if you want me to email you the PowerPoint or the film, you know, the whole presentation, you know, I can definitely do that. You know, so just shoot me a message on Twitter. And I'll be able to get that to you. But, you know, I really appreciate the time. I know I went kind of long, but
you're good, Coach. Man, hey,
it was awesome.
Keep dropping them gems, man. Hey, if you want, if you want, man, if you want to send me, you know, whatever, you know, the PowerPoint and the videos, I can just upload it to the drive. Up to you. You know,
okay.
So totally up to you. But we can do that, and I'll make sure it gets set up along with your video here tonight. But yeah, if anybody has any questions, feel free to drop them in here before we get out of here. Also, Coach, if you want to, one of the coaches is wondering if he can get the grading template.
Yeah, I'll send that over. Yep.
Okay. In the film room, any major film keys you like your guys to watch during the week?
Yeah, so what I'll try to do is I'll make some like cut-ups for them throughout the week and send to them. They have access on their iPad or computer. So I'll put together. I don't like making it too long, but I'll make about a 5 to 10 play clip of maybe explosive plays where teams did stuff successful that that are kind of in our game plan, something similar to what we're doing, so they can visually see that. I'll always try to put some notes about in our scouting report. I'm not big on doing the whole statistics and all that. I don't think the guys get anything out of that. So I do more of a video scouting report, for our guys that I'll send to them. So I'll send them, so that they can see the base coverage in our base formation, so they can see that stuff. And then, I'll show them like their base, coverage on third down and their base coverage in red zone, just so they can kind of visually see that. I'll talk to them if it's a heavy press week. I'll send a couple of clips of what type of technique that corner's playing. So not only they see that, they're playing shadow technique, they can actually see it. You know what I'm saying? So just little stuff like that I try to make a cut up with or pictures and send that, to the guys that they can watch on their own.
That's good.
And then, like I said, anytime with all of our practice grades, I always send that to them. Just so, like I said, we don't have time to watch every clip in our meetings. So the expectation is, and I think most of our guys do for the most part, is to watch, all the film from practice. It typically doesn't take, from a player standpoint, I think if you spend 30 minutes a night and watch that stuff and you can look at the notes that I put, and that way when we come to the meeting, they can they already have an idea of some of the things that I'm probably going to touch on. I'll try to throw in a couple questions, too, that, that I can kind of gauge it maybe if they watched it or not.
No, it's good stuff, Coach. It's important. Yeah, for sure. If you can send that over to me, Coach, I'll get it put up in the drive. Like I said.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I'll send it.
But yeah, man. Hey, no, absolutely, man. Don't mind at all. You kept going and a lot of great information. That's why a lot of great information, a lot of great film, teaching points. I posted a couple videos on Twitter as you were going. But once again, man, it was great coaching points in there, man. Some really cool drills, stuff that I know I'm gonna take back a couple things that I saw today, and I'm sure
awesome
other coaches will as well. So
no doubt. Yeah, man. Anytime you want to get on the phone, man.
Yeah, no, we'll
definitely play or this was more fundamental stuff, but scheme stuff. I love talking ball all the time.
Oh yeah.